Welcome. You're listening to another podcast of Mother's War on Violence. I am your host, Yolanda Wallace. And today, thank you for coming back and listening to another episode of Mother's War on Violence. And before we get started, I'd like to say a prayer for our listening audience. And I'd like to pray that God is in the midst of our situations and ask that He blesses our podcast. In Christ's name I pray. Amen. Today's topic is the playing cards for unsolved murders. We've recently got some playing cards for unsolved murders with the support of the family members all pitching in and helping out by donating their pictures. All the proceeds go towards awareness with Mother's War on Violence. This is one of our projects this year, our fundraisers. And we realized it's a tough thing to even talk about or even lend your picture for such things, but we're thankful for all the families who participated and our anthropologists, our people who donate just because they're concerned and want to help. We are a 501c3 organization, and today I have one of our family members in our studio. I will let her introduce herself. I'll introduce her and I'll let her tell her story and what her son's name was or is. And her name is Melissa Shipley.
Yes, hello.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Mother's War on Violence.
And thank you for inviting me. I'm honored to be here.
I am glad that you're here in town. And I want to start by asking you to share your story.
Sure. My son, Michael Shipley, he was murdered February 6th of 2019. Well, that's when he was pronounced deceased. So he was shot and in his own home.
And do we know why? Any ideas?
I really don't think it was a personal situation. Mm-hmm. It was an opportunity.
Okay. Did he get robbed or anything? Or just...
He was robbed, okay. Yes, but as everyone knows, his clothes. Yeah.
What do you mean?
They took his clothes on the way out. I don't know if they were wanting money.
Oh, my.
But as far as I know, no money was given, but as they fled, they took clothes.
Oh, that's terrible. No, I was not aware of the story. Mm-hmm. What year was that?
2019.
Okay.
Yes.
And is the case resolved yet?
No,
okay.
It is still active.
Okay.
So it's
still
not
under
closed.
Investigation?
Yes,
okay.
It is.
Okay, great. And does Michael have any children?
Yes, he has 5.
Okay.
Yes, with the oldest being 10.
Wow. And what is that like for them without their father?
Oh, well, he was very close to his daughter, the oldest one. Mm-hmm. So I think she's the one that probably is having the hardest time dealing with him being gone. And then with the other 4, 2 of them didn't really know him. And then the other 2, they know of him, but the relationship with him wasn't as strong as it was with his oldest daughter just because of the circumstances of the relationships that he had with the mothers.
Okay. Okay. And were you a single parent family home raising them, or were you married?
He had. I was married,
Okay.
not to his biological father, who was not present,
Okay.
but the biological father's family was. They were involved in his life.
Okay, good.
And so he kind of became a little wayward, for a lack of a better word, junior high.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I've tried everything in my power to have him make or guide him into making better choices, and he had to actually I don't know what the words I'm looking for, but he had to suffer the consequences of his decisions. How's that?
Okay, that's be fine.
Yeah, so I do believe that there are young men or young girls out there who do come from good families but choose the streets instead, and the families do fight for them.
They do. Because we know that it would be stereotyping if you would just think that everybody that got killed was just, living that life. But we know that the statistics say that between the ages of 15 and 34, that is the age for most, most men, to be killed or something like that. And matter of fact, they're calling it a health crisis for this type of thing to happen. And what kind of resources have you found to help you in your grief and things since then?
I do have a strong family support system, so I'm grateful for that, and of course prayer. Okay. And to know that you're not alone. Of course, like you and I discussed, this isn't something that we choose to belong to a group of mothers or parents,
right,
who lose a child to violence. And I don't think it's anything you ever get over anyway. It just depends on how you're able to live with the pain.
Yeah. So I would think being around, other survivors is very supportive, right?
Yes. And I think, too, having the grandbabies
helps.
Yes, because it's up to me to make sure they know me because of,
right,
I'm their dad's
mom.
Their
family. You're right. Okay. And when it comes to surviving, what are the, outside of you meeting me, were there other entities that you were able to
Not really.
connect with?
Not really, no.
Okay. Did you just find that just, moving out of town was helpful, or you felt
I was already out of town.
Oh,
I already lived
okay.
in Texas when this all happened.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sure that was hard to hear long distance.
It was. Yes.
So, and that night, do you want to talk about that night that it happened?
It was just, it was the day your life changed. And what the sad part is that he was probably deceased for a number of hours. And so...
you mean before they found him?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my. What street was that on?
Thrush. East Thrush, I think.
Okay.
Right off University.
Okay.
Yes. And so I had a lot of support from his friends, but nobody, they only give you information that they want you to have.
Right.
They don't reveal everything. But that was a rough night, because actually my other son called me and said, "Hey, I just heard this." So I had called a couple of the girls that he knew, and one had to hand the corner the phone with me on the phone. And so trying to travel up here
Oh my.
in February, and just, it was horrible. And it's all kind of a blur just because there's a lot.
Right. So, how did you find out about the playing cards?
Actually, someone on Facebook saw it
Mm-hmm.
and saw it on the news, and they reached out to me. It was actually a girl that I grew up with,
Mm-hmm.
and she was just like, "Hey, they're giving out these cards." She was on the news, and that's how it all transpired. Then after that, my sister did the same thing, and that's how it all began.
That is awesome, because sometimes people think that when I meet people, I automatically have known them my whole life. Yet we come from two different walks of life. We're bonded through our pain and outreach through helping others to survive. And I know we talked about some of the resources that I use, one of them being the National Parents of Murdered Children. Is an organization that you can go online, and it's kind of like a self-help group.
Oh, okay.
And so, which is where a lot of the ideas that I've got this from, and they're from out in Cincinnati, Ohio. A lot of the ideas that I got, some of the ideas that I got from are from organizations like that, and bringing them to our area, just trying to show more self-help programs here in the area, I think is vital to our survival expectations or whatever. I mean, here in the city, because, I mean, if I lived out of town, I think it would be easier to walk away and, I wouldn't say forget, but just not have to be in the same town with everybody. You ever feel like that when you're, like away? Or probably part of you probably wishes you were here at that time, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, I do. And, the goal was to get him out of here, but he,
Things-
I will, I
Yeah.
just got to do this. And he always
Right.
just kept putting it off.
Right. So circumstances and situations change But I feel like doing the playing cards has given a sense of hope for you, right?
Right. And because I even had someone ask me today, how can I get the cards? I'm like, funny you should ask.
That's right.
We'll be talking about that today.
Yes, we will. Actually, we'll be out in different places. Right now, they're on display at the Peoria Riverfront Museum.
Okay.
So you can purchase them there.
Nice.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what their price is there, but you can purchase them there. They have some decks there, and we'll be out in the community, selling them with different family members and whoever wants to participate and help us, to raise the awareness. The posters was one way, but the cards, I think, are going to be distributed in many other ways. An instrument, a game changer. I've had recently a chance to see, work with some kids in the school district and actually allow them to see those cards. And it has really been something, because some of the kids in school are like, Michael, and like my son as well, younger age and stuff. Of course, they were older when, these things happened to them, but it all starts when you're younger and by the friends that you hang out with and stuff like that. And in the school district, they have some kids who've been experiencing some violence that has happened to some of their friends. And I've actually had a chance to talk to some kids and talk them down from some anger management type situations, trying to using the cards as a way to detour their anger and their just relatable to them that we know somebody who has been killed, and we know how to, what the grief signs are and how we have survived it and been able to share my story with some of the kids at the school. So when people I look at all those people in the deck, and the majority of the victims in the deck are men. And looking at them, and I see that some of them have children and stuff
Yes.
like that, and some of them are still in the school districts right to this day. So it becomes real. I think that what you're doing and being strong.
Have no choice, right?
Yes. And while you're here, I mean, visiting the family and the kids and stuff like that, I think that it's amazing how strong that we tend to be on the outside
Right.
when we really don't look like. We don't
right.
feel that way.
You don't.
So
You really don't. And what's so sad is, yes, if these young people are choosing violence, they are changing their lives too.
they are.
Sorry, but
It's the truth.
you're not taking someone else down. You're going to go down with them eventually.
Mm-hmm.
But they're invincible, and that's their mentality.
Yeah.
And hopefully they can get the resources to learn like what you're doing.
And like I said, and hopefully those cards can be vital in waking up some of the kids in the school district and let them know these are real life people from our
Right.
area that
Right.
these things have happened to, and hoping that it can be a game changer and help them to make better choices, because we don't want them to end up with the picture in the deck.
No, not at all. Or the cause of that
Yeah,
picture.
the cause of why the deck was even created.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, but I want to thank you again for joining us on our show. Is there anything that you would like to say to our listening audience, or to any kids who are listening, young people who are listening, and so they can make better choices?
I wish I had the answer. I really do. But as parents, we cannot give up on our kids.
Right.
And they need us, and they'll hate us. That's fine. They'll hate you now.
Right.
Love you later. And that's when we're doing our job. And and I've been to some places when my son was a teenager, to drag him out of wherever and
Right.
made a fool of myself, I'm sure. But I don't care. Just, we are our children's advocate. We have no choice.
Well, one thing we can say is that we have tried to turn
Right.
these kids around to make better choices, but the ultimate decision belongs to them.
It does. It really does. So with the cards, we were talking about keeping the victims still present. And so with the deck of cards, I put them in a little gift box with, my granddaughter's birthday gifts, and she loves them. And so she told me, I cried when I looked at them, but she also has family members in that house who are seeing all the cards too, or for
Right.
whenever her friends come over, or whenever they're playing cards. So I think keeping victims present, not just by a newspaper
Right.
of when it happened, newspaper article, whatever.
Yeah. Keeps the
And-
memory alive.
Yeah, and then hopefully when people keep seeing these faces, they may have the need to go and talk to somebody about what they know,
Right.
without having to be scared too.
Yeah. I heard you tell the story, well, you were starting to tell the story about you listening to the podcast, Mother's War on Violence.
Right, because it is something, when you were asking about resources. Well, for us, what are the resources? Or how about even for the kids who lose their parents to violence? Are there really any resources? Unless you have good insurance, you can take them to a therapist who's probably educated, book smart, but's never been in the streets or whatever to
Right.
help these young people. And so with the podcast, at least you're hearing people who've been down that road that you are just thrown into. And because, you don't know what to do. And you're angry, and then you have to wait for the authorities to do what they have to do. And in my mind, I was hoping it would be done like, oh, it'll be over in a year, and then we're going on 5. And so talking or listening to other people and how it worked for them on how they're coping, and you can maybe adopt those ways too to help go through your day.
Well, I'm glad that you found Mothers War on Violence to be one of those resources, because that's the reason that we do it, just to heighten the awareness. It's just another way, just like we do with the playing cards, just to heighten the awareness. It's kind of like supporting families who are listening, who need it, people who are just coming into this world every day of being a survivor from these type of things, and we want to be supportive of them. So that's why we have Mothers War on Violence and WCVU supporting our non-for-profit is just awesome. So as a matter of fact, right now we're about in the middle of fund drive. And so if any of our listening audience would like to give a donation to WCBU on the behalf of Mothers War on Violence, we appreciate that. It's listening audiences just like you who give a donation. It doesn't matter how big or small it is. And we thank you again.